reporter for Buzzfeed, and I'm here to introduce the director of the cast, a movie that you just saw. So first, let's bring out Tom Lenk. Gregg. Acker. Alexis Denisof. And Whedon. Fast and Furious, right? So, I think at this point, the sort of legend of the making of this movie is relatively well known, but I'll do the very short version, which is after Joss Whedon had finished shooting The Avengers, this kind of movie that you might have heard of, he decided he had a contractual vacation. And instead of going on vacation, he decided to shoot this movie instead. And he did it in 12 days at his house, and that's really his house. And so what I want to know is how far in advance of knowing that you were going to do this, did you have the idea of making this movie as an actual feature film?
You know, I had the idea 10 years. Is that the reading before art? Maybe 8 years. But it was always just like, you know what would be cool? Amy and Alexis read Beatrice and Benedick. It was so good, we should film that. And I went very far with this fantasy. Like, I had the one sheet, I had a DVD, I had everything figured out. I had no idea what the movie was about. My friends were talented. The movie. And then, but then when my wife and I started this micro-budget studio so I could make this content, and she had sort of been waiting in, she had a crew, she sort of knew how it was going to work, and knew that we had this week of vacation. It's not contractual, by the way, I had to fight for it. And she's just like, I think you need to do this. You've got the cast, I've got the crew. Go read it and figure out the goddamn movie. And so then it was, so for 10 years, lame. For 1 month, awesome.
And was Alexis the first person you approached about being in the film?
Woo! Once he passed on me. Whore. Once Alexis passed on Beatrice, of the Shakespeare readings, so many great memories. The twin stars are flanking me right now, and their Beatrice and Benedick was just, that was.
Only surpassed by Gracie Hamlet.
Oh, you laugh.
No, I'm serious. That shit was good.
So Alexis, when Joss approached you and said, I want to do this, what went through your mind at first?
Blank. Blankness, a white sheet of terror. Actually, no, I was curiously, he had lulled me into a false sense of relaxation with these readings. And so I thought, oh, this is sort of a reading that we'll shoot. And so I don't really know what we'll do with it. But learn your lines. And I'm glad I did, because we didn't have many takes, and don't want to waste one on fluffing in lines. So, but it was real. We got there. There was catering. There was.
There was no fluffing.
I'm sorry. That is it. That's it. That's a technical theater term. It does not mean. This has been my day. I'm not going to go back. Clark knows what I mean. God, it's getting worse. It's like a quicksand of innuendo. What was the question?
It was, has thou been fluffed?
Yea and merrily.
I'll move on. Amy,
You're so fluffy.
Amy, and you had the same sort of reaction that you really thought this was just going to be like Joss on his iPhone just shooting you guys reading or something.
Yeah, pretty much. I was expecting to show up and it was like Joss with his flip cam being like, yeah, just a little to the left. I can't fit you both. The screen's really small. But actually, once we started showing up, I mean, I think a bunch of us originally thought, because he had mentioned over the years, it would be cool to film these readings. So we thought maybe you had mentioned something like PBS. One day
I was trying to sound fancy.
I think we could read on PBS, and so I think everyone kind of did, which was great, because otherwise we would have been terrified of, like if we said, it's going to come out on June 7th, and all these people will be here, then we would have cried.
Clark, you only had 40 hours to prepare for the role, right?
Woo!
Yeah, I had just done this other film with Joss. And it ended badly.
Aww.
And I ended up in this house for dinner, which was cool. And it was a really nice house. And I said, you know, you're going to be on a beach somewhere? What are you going to do? He said, oh, I'm going to make a movie, a bunch to do. Here, starting, you know, in a couple days, you want to be in it? And I was like, you almost got me, And then I realized he was serious, and I had said yes to go do a really funny one-act by Ethan Cohen in New York. I said yes that day, and I was like, oh, woo! Sad one, like, woo! And then a few days, I had to say no, and it killed me. And then a few days later, they pushed the play in New York 10 days, and I thought, well, normally that wouldn't really leave you time to do a film. Is it gauche to call him back and go, hey, I don't know if you got anybody else, but have you made their deal yet? And I didn't really have the nerve to do that. And then he called and said, guess what? I went to several other people. They all fell out because of various stuff. And has this thing by any chance pushed? And I was like, woo! That's great. Come over now because we're rehearsing your scenes and you start tomorrow. And I was like, woo! So now it's in movie theaters. I'm doing, woo! I'm going to beat this dead horse. Leonato means dead horse that is beaten, is what it's
And Mr. Lenk, for you as well, how did Joss? How did Joss approach you for this?
Serious. I got an email, and I think it was about 2 sentences long, and then my reply was like, do you want to do this? And I said yes, and then panicked about it later. And I'm sure they're sick of hearing me say it, but I actually got a C in my Shakespeare performance class at UCLA, senior year.
We're working on some demons here, people.
Yeah. So I didn't tell him that in my initial reply. I just said yes, panicked about it, and kept that little shameful secret. And I had all my lines written on little note cards because I was terrified of them. and I had no idea what they meant. Yeah! Woo! Mental Shakespeare block that I think perhaps Joss unlocked, so thank you.
I'm here for you.
And who came up with the jacket gag with Nathan?
Well, our jackets were hanging there, and
I think the coat racks. I just remember going, the jacket gag? We're going that route? And then realizing that I was the dumb person.
large man in a tiny coat. I think though, like, I should get the credit for that because it was my tiny coat from my own closet that was ripped in the armpit by Mr. Fillion.
Comedy sacrifice.
I'm gonna eBay that costume. Raise some for charity.
And Alexis, how did you guys choreograph the eavesdropping scene?
I think we choreographed that.
Well, some of it was very specific, be here, do this, you know.
Yeah, you know where the cameras were going to
There was
be.
at least one where when Don Pedro turns and you have to duck out, but how he was going to do that, I had no idea.
I think the shoulder roll I just threw in. I think the falling backwards again. The shrug we asked for, right? We were
the side
like,
thing was you.
yeah.
Coming from the side.
You know, quickly the Rolodex of cheap gags. That one.
My favorite is the toddler in the cart seat where you. Is that what
I'm
that's
still getting
called?
chiropractic treatment for that.
There was a point where she's like, this thing where I rolled in frame is hilarious. Do you have it yet?
I did say to him, "Just, ow."
And could you hear what they were saying? Like, how did you know?
Frankly, no. No, it was a guess, and then I think he was being very clever about how he put it together so that it linked up. I mean, I had read it and knew, you know, to be honest, of course I knew what they were saying. I just didn't know when they were saying it because I couldn't hear.
And Clark, how was it? How did you keep a straight face with Alexis just jumping all around the ring?
Wait, you could see me? You're good. You're so good.
That was where years and years of craft came in. 'Cause it was the most difficult thing I've maybe ever had to do when I saw the shrub go up. Get a glass of wine just to do the spit take.
And Amy, are you okay when you did your jump down the stairs? Did you survive that? How did that work?
I may or may not have gone to get an MRI a few years months later. No, I think that was a different incident.
It's so weird because what we were paid on this movie is going to cover. Ooh.
No, I'm good. Luckily, there was a mat, so that was good. He
We could afford a
flourished
mat, that's true.
on the front.
That was our stunt day. We had a stunt man there going, please don't die.
So, Joss, you know, one of the things that's really great about this is that there's a lot of lightness and a lot of comedy, but you also really dive into the sort of darkness in the piece. What did you, like, as you did this so quickly, how sort of conscious were you of making sure that you were maintaining that balance? Were you just sort of going?
Well, the darkness is, I mean, that's what made it click for me. So I've always found it very charming, always found it very funny. It wasn't until I saw not just the darkness, but how much it was a reflection of the light, how much they were the same story as comedy and tragedy, that I really became fascinated. The thing is, all I did was film it. All I did was try and populate it with people who really embody and enrich the roles they had, and then point the cameras at them. You know, I didn't try to maintain a tone or rhythm beyond what he was doing. Obviously, I made cuts, according to, because it's a very long play, I had cut out about a third of it, according to shape it somewhat to my own rhythmic ends. But after that, it's Shakespeare. He's going to go for a long time in this direction. It's going to be very dramatic for a long time. He's going to get tonal slaps. He's going to do it, and you have to just go, okay, it's your game. And it was just a question of making sure everything registered. That there's a lot of productions I think will play it as a two-hander and say Beatrice and Benedick are wonderful, and if you can sit through everything else, you get to see them. And for me, it's like, no, actually, I'm really invested in Veraccio. I relate to him in a way that I'm not going to tell an audience after a screening on the first night. Oh shit!
And you also made this very sexy. This made me like...
Yeah, you did.
Would you say that sexy was perhaps somewhere else, and that I brought it, shall we say, back?
I love it so much.
Yes, I can never confirm or deny. No, you know what? To me, I want things to play on a very heightened level. It's all happening.
Share right now.
Let's go. It's sexy back.
You missed our tagline. There's a ton of drinking. These guys have a relationship. It's all in this compressed space. It all happens in like a weekend. It is this very intense party, and I wanted to push that, as far as I could, because it made everything more heightened. It made, the betrayals and bad decisions and the love that, couldn't speak its name, even though it should have. It made everything sort of more immediate and personal. Also, sex is sexy. Sex. A lot of people have been like, why did you put sex, in the movie? I'm just like, why did you eat chocolate? Why did you decide on oxygen for breathing?
Amy, I have to say that your women's speech is one of my absolute favorites. And it sort of underlines why Beatrice is one of Shakespeare's absolute best women, really, because she's so strong. Because Joss likes to write strong women characters.
Holy shit.
So, Amy, for you, as you were tackling that scene especially, what were you sort of wanting to make sure that you were conveying and really getting across?
I mean, luckily for me, I was acting with that guy who, went to and had that amazing dialogue. I mean, that's kind of the scene when you're reading the play, at least for me as an actress, that I'm like, oh, I want to see that.
And once you both sort of died in each other's arms, you sort of have a sense of your chemistry together. All the feels, all.
I think we all talked about that being sort of a turning point of the story and wanting it to resonate in that way, but mainly it was just doing it, really.
Is that why I can't stop thinking about Nick Fury?
Holston's "Oh That I Were a Thor" speech was
I think we have time for just a couple questions. So that guy back there, yes.
Hi, awesome movie, thank you. in the Shakespeare readings that you've all done, what are some other like awesome experiences and roles maybe that were not this play that you guys did, including yourself, Josh's roles that you played, like Alexis mentioned Hamlet? Do you have any fun tidbits of Shakespeare?
So in case you didn't hear, the question's about all your favorite characters that you played over the course of doing all the different Shakespeare readings at Josh's house.
God, the dream was, I mean, we had a couple of Midsummer Night's Dream readings that were really fucking funny. I mean, Nathan, your Lady Capulet was still just unbelievable. I don't know, she like found some, that was incredible. What about you?
I have one random Alexis memory that I don't even know what play it was from, but he was like a page boy that was really brilliant in school. And Olivia Williams, Verges.
Oh, yeah.
Was amazing.
Honestly, Merchant Venice, your second prince.
Oh my God.
The most thankless part Shakespeare has ever saddled anybody with.
Joss has a weakness for a silly accent. I'm just gonna put it out there.
That's the same thing I'm talking about, actually.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. We were on the floor, but it was all earned. It was all very real. When I did, Blind Devil's Bargain was, I'm going to do Hamlet, but I'll wait. I'll carry his beer for 2 years, unless somebody drops out, an awesome part of it. And then one day I'll do my Hamlet and my Claudius and my Ophelia.
No, his Hamlet, you guys,
it was just, but it was
electric.
I learned so much, and yeah, that was a huge.
I wish we shot that one. That could have been just a flip cam.
Yeah, that's 11 trillion hits on YouTube.
There's, Caliban. There's so many. Obviously, your Lady Capulet, which caused Illyria to come to.
Marcia's Macbeth was scary.
Marcia's Macbeth. Tim Minear's Melancholy Jakes. I mean, there's so many.
Oh my
so
God,
many things.
he's perfect.
Fillion playing Bottom. First time it was his mouth, but
Tom, how about you?
I did it. Was there a Midsummer that I did?
I feel, yeah, did you?
Was that a pod situation? Was that in high school at my prom? Where we were reading of it.
I get those two confused a lot.
Okay. I'll go with that.
And I know Gregg, you weren't participating in the.
I wasn't at the brunches. I didn't,
You just say it. Oh my God.
But I'm just wondering,
I didn't know that. I tell myself.
that was my clumsy segue to asking if you'd done Shakespeare before and if you'd had a role that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, come on, tell them about that role.
You hurt your finger playing soccer? Go on.
Yeah.
What was back to the finger stuff?
You could have told me before we started shooting, Mark.
Slits in the press conference today.
Come on, it's a good story. Come on, do it.
Okay, I'm gonna come. Woo! I might have been a jock in college, in college in Ohio, and I might have been a goalkeeper. And I might have dislocated my thumb and been banned from practice for hyperactivity disorder, although I didn't know that's what it was. And I was walking by the theater, and I saw a tremendously beautiful student walk into the theater and followed. And they were having auditions for a play called Much Ado About Nothing. And the fools gave me the part of Benedick.
First I heard about him last week. The fucker never gave me any help at all. The massive critical success that you're enjoying is exactly because I gave you no. You saw me drowning. You saw me drowning. You could have pulled me out. It's the most legendary hamming that ever went on in this industry.
Okay, we got one more question, and I saw this hand first.
Hi. Joss, my question for you is, you've now done the scoring for this wonderful movie, and you've done the lyric for Once More with Feeling. Can you tell me a little bit about the process and what sort of drew you to this particular part of the process?
The question's about the fact that Joss wrote score because he didn't have enough to do.
It's a dream. Who doesn't want to? I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Maybe some people don't. I asked that question. It's not rhetorical. It just makes me feel weird and alone. My dad and my granddad both wrote lyrics for like off-Broadway musicals, and I love music. I'm fascinated by it. I can't really play an instrument, so I don't really play that much. But I had written songs because a song has a very compact structure, and I was able to do that. But in this instance, I felt like I can't really express it as a musician, but I think I, with the help of computer programs, can lay down some tracks to orchestrate something that would be, I couldn't afford anybody else. And I knew nobody else was going to hire me, and it was such an extraordinary opportunity. I was terrified, honestly. And Debbie Lurie was my arranger, and she heard stuff, and there was cues in there that I'm enormously proud of. There were a couple of cues where I'm like, I sound great, and I went back and listened to what I sent her. Oh, I dug that out of the pudding I sent her. So doing the Shakespeare readings was about just having fun, but as soon as I carried Spear in the first one, I went, oh, that's what that's like. And, I learned so much. I learned so much playing Hamlet. I learned so much saying, get thee to a nunnery, to you. It's different when you say it to Amy. Being a composer, you're definitely another character. And I've told composers what to do for years, but having to do it, having to decide when to come in and what to do and how to find the tone of this movie was the most wonderful terror. And if I think I can't pull something off, then generally speaking, that's when I step up, and that's what you need to do.
All right, guys, thank you so much.